A long time ago, along the slow and steady waters of the Nile River, the people of ancient Egypt lived their lives in quiet, unhurried patterns. The river flowed gently, year after year, carrying the same calm rhythm across the fertile lands that stretched widely on either side. Morning light would rise softly over the horizon, touching the mud-brick homes, the small gardens, and the fields of wheat and barley. People awoke not to the sound of an alarm, but to the natural unfolding of the day. Slowly, they began their routines. Fires were tended, water was carried from the river, and animals were led to graze in the soft morning light. Every motion was deliberate, repeated, and measured. Nothing was rushed. Everything moved with the pace of the land itself. The Nile's annual floods brought life to the region. Each year, the waters rose gently, covering the banks with dark, rich soil. Farmers awaited the flood patiently, knowing that this quiet event determined the rhythm of planting and harvest. Fields were prepared slowly. Seeds were sown with careful hands. Workers walked between the rows, pressing soil around each seed, checking for stones, adjusting irrigation channels, and repeating these tasks day after day. Crops grew in harmony with the river, growing quietly, steadily, without haste. And as the sun moved across the sky, life followed its gentle course. Houses were built from mud, straw, and stones gathered from the riverbanks. Each brick was shaped, dried under the sun, and carefully stacked. Families worked together in silent, coordinated effort. Children helped in small ways, carrying water, gathering straw, or sweeping courtyards. The repetition of these tasks, carried out day after day, taught patience and quiet attention. The smallest gestures, the turning of a wheel, the molding of clay, the smoothing of walls, were performed with care and precision, and the accumulation of these small, deliberate actions slowly shaped the world around them. Over time, small settlements grew into larger villages. Paths widened naturally as feet traveled the same lines repeatedly. Goods were exchanged between households. Grain for pottery, baskets for dried herbs, simple cloth for small tools. The exchanges were calm and unhurried, punctuated only by soft conversations about the river, the sun, and the slow passing of the seasons. Life was cyclical, predictable, and steady. The same activities repeated every day, week, and year, creating a rhythm that was both comforting and meditative. Even the minor variations, the occasional late harvest, a slightly lower river, a new child, as centuries passed, villages developed more complex social structures. Leaders emerged, guiding labor, resolving disputes, and organizing the distribution of resources. Tasks were divided among workers, farmers, builders, and scribes. Everyone had a role, and every role followed a quiet rhythm. Workers tilled fields, repaired walls, and maintained simple irrigation canals. Scribes wrote on papyrus slowly, recording grain inventories, religious ceremonies, and the details of daily life. The act of writing itself required careful concentration, as each symbol was inscribed with measured strokes, repeated over and over. Through these continuous and unhurried activities, society grew, but always at a deliberate, calm pace. Temples gradually rose along the riverbanks, growing slowly over years and decades. Each stone was carved with care, each wall decorated with reliefs depicting gods, kings, and daily life. Priests performed rituals with patience and steadiness. Every day, incense was lit, hymns were recited, and offerings were made to the gods. The repetition of these practices brought a sense of continuity and stability, reinforcing the slow, measured cadence of Egyptian life. Work proceeded steadily, whether in the fields, the workshops, or the temples, and the passage of time itself was observed quietly through these enduring cycles. In the broader landscape, people continued their quiet routines. Artisans molded clay into pots and jars, shaped wood for furniture and tools, and wove fibers into cloth with meticulous repetition. Fishermen cast nets along the Nile and carefully sorted their catches. Shepherds guided flocks through the fields. Each animal watched and tended with steady hands. Children played under the sun, learning through observation and gentle mimicry, while elders shared stories of previous generations in the same soft, measured way that they had always done. Life unfolded slowly, quietly, with the rhythm of the river and the seasons as a constant guide. Even monumental constructions, such as pyramids and tombs, followed this unhurried pattern. Stones were quarried, transported, and shaped carefully, one after another. Teams of workers moved them using sledges, ropes, and wooden tools, placing each block with deliberate precision. The entire process took decades, sometimes generations, and the effort was steady and continuous rather than sudden or hurried. Each stone, each corner, and each chamber was completed slowly, marking time not by hours or days, but by months and years. The builders, priests, and scribes all participated in the long, repetitive rhythm of creating structures that would endure for centuries. The family were absorbed into the long flow of life without disruption. Time itself seemed to stretch and slow as people moved along with it. Throughout these centuries, ordinary life continued in its steady manner. Crops were sown and harvested. Pottery was shaped, baked, and distributed. Animals were fed, rivers navigated, and homes maintained. In villages and towns, people moved slowly through daily activities. Markets opened with the rising sun and closed at dusk. Food was prepared and consumed with care. Cloth was spun and woven. Tools were repaired and sharpened. Every action was deliberate, measured, and repeated across the days, weeks, and years. There was a sense of continuity that extended beyond individual lifetimes. As the centuries progressed, Egyptian society became more complex, yet the underlying rhythm remained slow and deliberate. The construction of canals, the growth of cities, the development of trade networks, all were achieved gradually through careful planning, repetition, and persistence. Travel along the Nile and across trade routes moved at a slow, methodical pace. Boats glided gently on the river, carrying goods and people alike, the oars dipping steadily in the water, each movement in harmony with the natural flow of time. Through the long history of ancient Egypt, life was defined less by dramatic events and more by the quiet, steady work of countless generations. The Nile shaped both the land and the culture. Daily life was predictable, measured, and rhythmic. People learned patience, continuity, and harmony with the natural world. Even in times of political change, the underlying cadence of life, the planting, the harvesting, the rituals, and the slow construction of monuments, persisted without interruption. Civilization itself advanced through countless small, deliberate acts, each contributing to the enduring fabric of Egyptian society. And so, across centuries, people rose and rested, worked and observed, repeated the same actions over and over, and created a world that, though ancient, moved with a gentle, unhurried pulse. Life was quiet, measured, and continuous. Nothing was hurried, nothing abrupt. Time itself was an ally, flowing gently, carrying generations along its calm, steady course. The river, the fields, the cities, the temples, all existed in slow harmony, forming a rhythm that, even now, echoes faintly through the sands of Egypt and into the minds of those who imagine this distant, timeless civilization. As time continued to flow across the lands of ancient Egypt, the daily rhythm of life remained steady and calm. Families continued to rise with the gentle light of dawn, performing the same measured routines that had been repeated for generations. Water was drawn slowly from the Nile. Fires were kindled carefully. Fields were tended with patient hands. There was a soft continuity in these actions, a quiet, even the smallest acts, arranging clay pots, sweeping courtyards, repairing thatched roofs, were carried out deliberately, forming an almost meditative pattern that echoed through the villages. Along the riverbanks, the fertile soil encouraged slow but steady growth. Crops matured at their natural pace, unaffected by haste. Farmers walked between rows of wheat, barley, and flax, checking each plant, adjusting irrigation channels, and occasionally pausing to rest in the shade. Livestock grazed in the fields, their movements gentle and unhurried. Shepherds guided them with calm, measured steps, calling softly to ensure the animals remained together. Children learned through observation, walking beside adults, carrying small bundles of straw or water, and copying the slow, careful movements of their elders. Through this quiet, repetitive practice, skills and knowledge were passed from one generation to the next. The construction of buildings, while larger in scale, followed the same principle of steady, deliberate work. Mud bricks were shaped and dried under the sun. Stone was quarried, transported, and placed with methodical precision. Teams of laborers moved in coordinated patterns, lifting, adjusting, and placing each block carefully. The work was not hurried. It unfolded slowly, day by day, month by month, year after year. Even monumental structures, such as temples and tombs, rose gradually, reflecting the patience and persistence of the people who built them. Each wall, each chamber, each carved symbol told a story of time measured not in hours or days, but in decades. In addition to agriculture and construction, daily life involved a range of quiet, repetitive activities. Artisans molded clay into vessels, shaped wooden tools, and wove fibers into cloth. Fishermen cast their nets in the slow, meandering waters of the Nile, carefully sorting their catch. Bakers prepared bread, measuring ingredients with precision and kneading dough with steady hands. Each of these actions, though ordinary, contributed to the continuity of life and the slow, enduring rhythm of society. The Nile itself remained the central axis of life. Its waters were predictable and constant, rising and falling in a gentle pattern that dictated the pace of agriculture, travel, and trade. Boats moved steadily along the river, carrying goods, people, and messages between settlements. Oars dipped rhythmically into the water, gliding forward without urgency. The river's quiet presence shaped both the landscape and the consciousness of the people, fostering a sense of calm and continuity that permeated every aspect of life. Repetition that brought comfort to those who lived along the river. Religion and ritual played a similarly measured role. Priests performed ceremonies with careful repetition. Incense was lit, hymns were recited, and offerings were made to the gods. These practices occurred daily and annually, forming a slow, predictable cycle. Temples, built gradually over many years, became centers of learning, artistry, and administration. Within their stone walls, scribes copied texts onto papyrus with painstaking attention. Each symbol was drawn carefully, each line repeated across sheets of paper in quiet dedication. The act of writing itself, slow and deliberate, reinforced the tranquil rhythm that defined the society. Even political life, though it occasionally involved upheaval or succession, generally unfolded at a measured pace. Kings and queens ruled for decades, and their policies were implemented slowly over time. Records were kept meticulously. Labor was organized in methodical ways. Changes occurred gradually, absorbed by the steady flow of daily life that continued largely uninterrupted. The ordinary rhythms of the Nile, the fields, the homes, and the workshops carried on, providing a continuous backdrop against which the lives of rulers and citizens alike progressed. As centuries passed, the society of ancient Egypt grew in complexity, yet the underlying cadence of life remained calm. Urban centers expanded, but they did so slowly. Streets became wider, markets became larger, and administrative buildings multiplied. Even these developments were guided by the patient repetition of daily work. Laborers, farmers, scribes, and artisans all contributed in small, steady increments. Over time, these incremental contributions shaped the civilization, creating monumental achievements without ever breaking the gentle rhythm that had always governed daily life. The natural environment reinforced this sense of calm. Sunrises and sunsets were predictable. The moon followed its familiar path across the sky, and the stars appeared in the same patterns night after night. Seasons repeated with reliable consistency. The annual flooding of the Nile, the gentle rains, and the slow shifts of temperature all contributed to a sense of continuity. The people of Egypt moved in harmony with these cycles, timing their work, rest, and rituals to the subtle cues of the natural world. Each day mirrored the last, and each year closely resembled the one before, producing a quiet, almost hypnotic sense of temporal stability.